listen, you'll have to take me out of commission, cause dissing me ain't gonna get it. My self-esteem is prolific, so when I say I ain't tripping, you know.
Let's get into AEW Dynamite. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. First, we got news and notes. So, Bryan Danielson. I said before that I wasn't sure whether Bryan Danielson is trolling or if Bryan Danielson has like CTE. I'm not entirely sure which one it is. But there's some things about him that's popped up lately that has been pretty hilarious. One, Fightful. Bryan Danielson, Genghis Khan ruled the world and never had McDonald's. I'm way richer than him. I don't know why this is, but Danielson went on a podcast with Ron Funches. He says, one of the things I like to remind my friends all the time is that Sprite is a perfect example. Genghis Khan took over most of his known world at the time. He never had Sprite. I'm way richer than Genghis Khan ever was. If he wanted to eat something delicious, it took a long time, and I'm sure he had someone else cook it for him. I don't eat McDonald's, but I'm sure I can go to McDonald's and get something better than he ever ate in his life. And that man ruled the world. Genghis Khan. Screw him. He never had Sprite. Fuck you, Genghis Khan. We got Laffy Taffy over here. What are you eating over there? Gnats? I mean, of all the things you could have said, books, I mean, Central Air, you know, mattresses, you know, things that probably didn't exist when Genghis Khan was around. You chose Sprite and McDonald's. Sprite and McDonald's. What next? Fuck you, Alexander the Great. You never had a Pop-Tart. Oh, you may have had some nice stuff. Oh, you had a solid gold sword or something? Fuck you. You never had ungranulated sugar. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, man? You never had a helmet. Well, he did have helmets. He had a helmet. But here's the funniest thing. Here's an even funnier one. Dax Harwood says that all Bryan Danielson talks about backstage is penises. This is even more ridiculous. Dax Harwood, I forget who's he talking to. He's talking to Sean Ross Sapp. He says, quote, I have not seen the headline, but I will tell you this. That story, along with many others, he talks about nonstop. All he does is talk about penis sizes in the locker room. Everyone is like, Bryan, why are we talking about this? This is probably a rib. I'm going to give Danielson some credit and say this one is probably a rib. But my God, I can't imagine. If he's sitting around cussing Genghis Khan for not ever having Sprite, who knows what the hell he's talking about in that locker room at this point. Oh God, Danielson has lost his mind since he went to AEW. First, it was the apples was a tree sperm or something like that. He said that was just absolutely insane. He's just going ham. Yeah, I think he's just having too much fun. I don't know, man. Bree need to check his water or something. Something is wrong. Something is in his whey protein. He's not. He's losing his mind. All right, on to one more silly topic first, because we got to talk about Chris Jericho and aliens. Because we're gonna talk about penises, aliens, and Genghis Khan to start this AEW episode. All right, so Chris Jericho believes he once may have been involved in a supernatural abduction. He thinks he got kidnapped by aliens. So Jericho says, what is this on his podcast? Oh no, it was on Howie Mandel. I've had time displacement. It's when you can't account for a certain stretch of time. It's when you get like abducted. I was driving home on a country road and it should take me about an hour to get home. And instead of getting home at 2 a.m., I got home at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. I still don't know what happened. I don't know. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing drugs or anything. There is just a big chunk of time missing. I should probably go to a hypnotist and see what happened. If there was any abduction, I've had time displacement. Jericho, it's time displacement. You know what else? Why jump all the way to aliens? You know, you can lose large chunks of time, being on certain medications, having a concussion, some type of head injury. You can lose large chunks of time, if you have a serious head injury or something like that. So there's things that can happen right here on good old Earth that will screw your brain up and you'll lose track of time. It can happen. But this guy's just kind of like, I must have been abducted by aliens. No, motherfucker, you probably got abducted by Jack Daniels. But here's another thing, because it doesn't stop there. I know everybody's talking about Jericho and the aliens. That wasn't even enough, right? He got abducted by Paul Masson. Be quiet. All right, so here's continuing Jericho and his supernatural adventures. So Jericho says, here's another one. I did a show for the Travel Channel called Chris Jericho Hunting Monsters. We went to a Louisiana bayou to look for a Louisiana werewolf. When we were there, there was a voodoo priest who put a curse on a town in the 1920s. When she put a curse on the town, this is real, a hurricane came and killed 50 people. They have a mass grave in the middle of the swamp. We were out there and I had a machete. I was cutting through the swamp and we got to the mass burial ground. I put the machete in the ground. They had ghost hunters there with the thing where they can scan you and the lights come on if something is attached to you. These guys were scanning me and it was going full DEFCON green right on my arm. And I was like, let me see this thing. Is there a button you're pushing? No, I do it to myself and it's blinking. Then I started feeling queasy, like I had been on a roller coaster. This is not fucking good. I have to get out of here. This is really bad. I pulled the machete out of the ground and it went away. I'm wondering if maybe when I put the machete in the ground, it made somebody mad that was buried there. I felt some weird shit going on in my body. I talked to a shaman and they were like, it happens. You get spirits attached to you and they have to be cleansed. It's pretty out there stuff. But when you're there and it's 3 a.m. and you feel something weird going on and you know it's not normal, it's hard to explain it. Jericho thinks that he got attacked by fucking spirits in Louisiana. He think he got abducted by aliens. Oh, buddy. Come on, buddy. Oh, man. Come on, man. You got to do better than this, Chris. I stuck a machete in the mud. All of a sudden, spirits are all over me. Really? Is that how it occurred? That's how you remember it? What were you eating or drinking or whatever at the time? Don't leave that part out. Don't leave out the part where you popped that pill or something before you went out there in the middle of nowhere. Or the fact that you might have, it might even be a placebo effect where you were told that there was some kind of, like he said, he was told about a voodoo, priest or whatever. They put a curse on this town. So your brain starts to think that, this is cursed ground. Now, I'm not saying that I don't completely believe in aliens and spirits and stuff like that. I mean, the world is what it is. But I tend to look at realistic responses first before I start saying that things are spirits or things are like I've been abducted by aliens. It's probably not. It probably didn't happen. Probably didn't have that experience in the way that you think. But you feel free to feel how you want to feel on the subject of your time of displacement. All right, so now on to a more serious topic. Stokely Carmichael was talking to Renee Paquette about the Firm and how the Firm has fallen down the memory hole and nobody cares. But then again, nobody really cared from the beginning. But Stokely says everything that was supposed to happen with the firm did not happen. Back it all out. What happened immediately after the pay-per-view, that's a huge part of it. Who we were supposed to directly feud with is no longer in the company. That is one thing I was looking forward to because I was hand-chosen for that role. I'm just going to say it. I don't know the specifics, if people are choosing sides or whatever, but for me, the fact that CM Punk said, hey, I want to work with this guy, it holds a lot of weight, and it means a lot, regardless of what has happened or what will happen. When that didn't happen anymore, it was literally rewriting everything on the fly. Everyone in the group is trying to do their best, and we're trying to figure out how to make this work because the original purpose isn't the purpose anymore. So it's like, what do? Things are slowly gearing up. It's just going to take a few weeks. With the way wrestling is nowadays, I get it. First impressions are everything, but it's a little difficult to change people's minds. Most people don't want to see Picasso work on his painting. They just want to see the shit done. That's the phase we're in. We're working on it, but people don't want to see it worked on. They want to see a finished product. I mean, just saying, well, I know it's just a figure of speech, but Christ's sake, most people don't want to see Picasso work on his painting. Surely you don't think that the firm is some kind of Picasso painting. God, this feels like somebody's child finger painting if that's the case. But from what it sounds like CM Punk was about to pull another Shield situation where MJF was going to, say that he's not working for the firm and that the firm is not helping him or whatever the case may be, or that he didn't tell them to help him, only for them to turn around and actually be on his side anyway. That's what it sounded like it was about to happen. But at least he was able, a lot of people ran with this, of course, because he was able to confirm to some degree that CM Punk is not in the company anymore. As if I give a shit. I kind of figured he wasn't with the company anymore anyway. But there's always that off chance that he could be. Simply because I don't have all the information. And I probably never will. That's just the facts. That's just the facts, bro. But it does suck, doesn't it? When you have to actually change your plans because people don't want to participate. I mean, I know a lot of people have been trying to throw AEW some bail about all the stuff that have to change because CM Punk walked out. But they never give WWE that kind of credit. When people like Sasha Banks walk out or when somebody gets injured, they immediately just start complaining and bitching and whining. Even though, there might be some kind of intricate story there. You just can't plug and play. People think that, wrestling is like sports. Like one wide receiver gets hurt, you just plug another one in. It's like, it doesn't quite work that way. It doesn't quite. If a guy like Steve Austin goes down, you just can't plug somebody else in. And this guy will work Steve Austin's angle. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. People have different relationships with different performers. So it makes sense that if the plan was to bring those guys in to work with CM Punk and then it didn't happen, then that's why they were in limbo. It's like, great, but guess what? The firm was a dumbass idea in the first place because it's full of people nobody cares about. So I think Punk walking out may have done us a favor. Must have done us all one big favor. So we got one more, maybe two more stories. Booker T. I was going to talk about this on the overall show, but let's get it out of here now. Booker T has been really ruffling some feathers. They don't like Booker T. And by they, I don't mean the Jews. I mean the Twitterati, the wrestling media, who some of them are probably Jews, and some of them are black, and some are gay, and some are women. So, got to cover all the bases, right? But my larger point is that they don't like our boy Booker T. Because Booker T was not a fan of the mocking of CM Punk. Despite the fact that Booker T is known to make fun of CM Punk himself, he didn't really understand why the elite felt the need to mock CM Punk the previous week. So he says on his podcast, I'm perplexed on that situation right there, just because I don't think there was anything tasteful about it. They're going to be heels. They're going to get booed anyway. So leaning into it is just rehashing what happened at the Scrum. It does nothing for that company. I just think it's childish stuff. I've had beef with guys in the business before. We handle it. We squash it. We move on. And normally that's the way it used to be. But now it's different. And now it's different because nobody is getting their asses whooped. No real consequences, no real repercussions, no real men running around. That's got a lot to do with it. There's no locker room etiquette. You know what I mean? If I tell you Booker T is hanging over the target, because I saw him trending all day on Twitter, and I was like, what did Booker T do now? He said a little bit more than shuck it, duck it, quack, quack this time. He had to have said something like legit, and him basically saying that the elite are acting like children who never had a whooping tells me he's hanging over that target. Like he's dangling over that goddamn target with a bomb at this point, because I think most adults see it that way. You don't keep poking and prodding, especially if you want people to get over it. You don't keep poking and prodding and doing all this stuff if you, one, legitimately want people to get over it. Two, don't want people chanting and talking about him and all that kind of stuff. Even if you were in Chicago, you wouldn't want to needle the fans that way. If the fans go into business for themselves and then you cut them down like, Stephanie did or whatever, when the CM Punk chants happened in Chicago in WWE, okay, you weren't in control of that, but you were prepared for it. Here, they decided they was going to play into it. And he said, like, look, there's been no repercussions for them. They still are EVPs. They're still the bosses. They're still, picking their guys to go on top and get over and all this kind of stuff. They weren't fired. They were suspended for a short amount of time, but even when they were suspended, they were still pulling strings. The media is still on their side. And the ass whooping, whatever they got, wasn't bad enough that it would make them change their behavior. And so he references his fight with Batista backstage. He said he's had beef with guys in the business before. He's one of those guys with Batista. And they got into a fight, I think at a SummerSlam commercial or something like that. And that was kind of it. There was no lingering issue between the two of them. And I believe they even worked together after that. I think that's when Booker T had the King Booker championship run or whatever. I think it was right after that, if I remember correctly, when he got into it with Batista. It was around this time, and you really couldn't tell, when they were on screen. So he's not just talking about manhood. He's also talking about professionalism, which is something that the elite is definitely not showing everybody. You're not showing everybody that they're professionals, that these are guys worth looking up to. These are guys that you could look at and say that they're the pinnacle of the business, or they're doing things the right way. They're going to keep mocking the situation and doing being the elite stuff. And of course, dragging some people into thinking it is a work when it clearly can't be. We know that CM Punk is far too sensitive to let these guys do this stuff. It's just, no. I mean, this guy got upset because Hangman Page made a comment about workers' rights, which, again, nobody would have gotten if he had not blown up about it. Most people would not have cared that he even said that, But the reason why Booker T was trending wasn't even because of that comment, even though I agree with it in that, the elite are being very childish and petty, but it's pro wrestling, especially modern day pro wrestling, and it involves modern day men who wear man buns, but we'll talk about that later. I can't talk too much about it, but we'll talk about that later. Booker T also said he could see AEW going out of business. This, of course, pissed some people off too. So he says, when you're performing on my show, it's a script. And when you go out there and you just, perform, that's where things get hectic. The company could be closed down in a couple of years. And these guys are going to be wondering what the hell happened. It's going to be because they're going out there and playing games and not understanding what this stuff is really about. Basically, they're not taking it seriously. They're not taking the business seriously. That the business, it can be fun, no doubt. The business can be fun, but you can't make a mockery of it. And you can't make a mockery of people and make a mockery of things. And I think that's a really good statement to make. Even though you may question how he said it, because there was a lot of these guys and stuff. But if you take into account the childishness of it, and it's always been sort of childish, and with AEW, it's kind of at WWE, of course, too. So it's not just like it's one side of the story. But the AEW issue is that they have not taken wrestling seriously. And when you criticize AEW, you used to get oh, stop it, wrestling should be fun. That's why we got the pizza guy out there, and we got Danhausen putting curses on people, and we got all this stuff because wrestling's supposed to be fun. And you buy into that for a little bit, and then they flip the switch on you, and it's supposed to be real, gritty, bloody pro wrestling. It's like, okay, which one is it? Is it Uchi Wally or is it One Mike? Is it black girl lost her shorty owe you for ice? Like, which one is it? You can't have both. You got to pick a lane. But Booker T, not everybody's favorite, but I don't have a problem with either comment that he made. I think he's looking at things from a serious perspective, that he wants these guys to take the business seriously. If they say things are over, let it be over. If they say things are done, let it be done. If they want to continue arguing and mocking and all that kind of stuff, then don't tell people it's over. Just continue doing what you're doing, as you should. All right, so that was a lot of news and notes, man. All right, so let's get into the show. Dynamite, November 30th, 2022. Show opens with Jon Moxley, who says there's 3 constants in life: death, taxes, and Moxley. And nobody outworks him, outfights him, yada, yada, yada. Say he's still a top of the food chain of AEW. Dared anybody to come out there and tell him different. Hangman Page came out there. He's wearing tight pants. He got into Jon Moxley's face. They had words and then brawled. Generic brawl, of course. The best kind. Usually where a bunch of guys had to jump in there and pull him apart. Moxley got so excited, he chased Hangman up the ramp, only to tumble off of it. He tumbled off the ramp. Okay. Moxley, whoops, I fell off. I fell off the wagon, fell off the ramp. Okay. They brawled incessantly, just on and on and on with the brawl, just continuously with the brawl. Later in the show, we see that they're still fighting, and at this point, we come across Hangman Page and his man bun, which seems... Look, I've seen man buns. I've even worn some. Sometimes you kind of need to keep your hair from getting caught in things, people trying to grab it, or whatever the case may be. I get it. Tying your hair up, I get it. It's not a problem. But him just being out there like some chick in college, it doesn't scream cowboy to me to have a man bun. I've never seen cowboys with man buns, yo. Never seen that before in my life. I don't think it would be cowboy approved. Do you think cowboys, where they're eating beans out of with a spoon out of a goddamn can, that they see Hangman Page and be like, that's a good representation of our way of life? With his electric car and his other weird picadillos. You mean to tell me this guy's a fucking cowboy? He's like, I'm going to pull my hair up to make sure. What? Wow. All right. Enough. I'm not going to make fun of Hangman no more. I think it was Moxley that injured him, so that's what they're basing this feud on. But once again, Hangman gets a top spot that's not deserved because he's not on the level of Jon Moxley, but whatever. Moxley is still not going on vacation. He's handcuffed to the radiator. Tony Khan is forcing him to follow him around. This new contract he got must be a motherfucker, because he's been trying to get out of it for 2 months, and he still ain't getting out of this joint. They're still holding him down. But Hangman, Moxley, whatever's your flavor. I'm not necessarily against it. I'm not necessarily for it. I don't really like Hangman. He looks like a little girl to me. Bryan Danielson versus Dax Harwood. Tremendous match with no storyline purpose to exist. nor nothing storyline driven to come out of it. Just a really good wrestling match. I really like Dax Harwood's jacket. I would legitimately, like, I try not to buy wrestling merchandise outside of DVDs. I don't buy wrestling merchandise. Like, I don't have any replica belts or anything like that, which I probably should get eventually. But I would buy that jacket. I would buy an FTR jacket if it looked like that. If it looked like the one Dax was wearing, I would buy a jacket. This match ruled. That Liger bomb, the springboard Liger bomb into the sharpshooter was just excellent shit. It was nasty. That would have been a great finish. The small package into the label block by Bryan Danielson was a great finish. Tremendous. The only thing that this match had was Dax Harwood wants to prove himself against one of the best wrestlers in the world. And I was like, okay. Is FTR the tag team interested in proving themselves against, two other guys, I guess? No? Oh. Moving on. Ricky Starks is backstage because they're going to be having another Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal. And Ricky Starks intends to win it because he says he's coming for everything that MJF has. He's going to prove that he is absolute. I expected him to have, like, in-ring verbal battles with MJF to show his craft with the microphone. But instead, we got him being shoved into a useless battle royal to win a stupid ring that he don't need. And then he probably won't win. I don't get it. I don't get this. Ricky Starks, please. But then again, this Booker of the Year stuff is beyond my pay grade. So later in the show, Ricky Starks is out there. He's about to wrestle Arya Daivari. I mean, please save us. And they don't. They instead, they quicksand the shit out of us, grab us by the ankles, and pull us deeper into the muck. Because the Firm comes out. And the Firm comes out with Matt freaking Hardy. And Matt Hardy's just, we won now! We won now! Just rolling his hand. We won now! I'm just kind of like, what is he even doing here? Why is he even here? So, I'm stupefied about just everything happening. We got Ethan Page bum ass out here. Stokely Carmichael is threatening Matt Hardy with all kinds of stuff. I'm like, why? We won now! I'm like, what is going on? Why is this happening? So then Ethan Page says that they own Matt Hardy. And I drew a blank because I'm like, I don't remember this. It must have been on Rampage or Dark or something like that. And I don't watch them shows. I don't watch the B and C shows. I'm sorry. I just don't got time. Especially since they come at 10 o'clock on a Friday. Bruh, come on. Anyway, Ethan Page then told Matt Hardy he has to help him win the Dynamite Diamond Ring. And I'm like, is he the front man for this group? Because if he is, this really sucks. Because there is nothing firm or tough about Ethan, what was this, Karate Man? Fucking Ethan Page. He sucks. He sucks ass. He sucks ass through a straw. He's that bad. He's a vacuum of ass. This guy fucking sucks. He's anal grease. Anyway, he yelled at Ricky Starks, and then Arya Daivari attacked Ricky Starks from behind. It meant nothing because Ricky Starks ended up spearing and hitting his finish on Arya Daivari, and he won the match. It was a squash match, which, not too bad for Ricky Starks to have a squash match. I'm not angry at that. I like that, actually. But I don't like the idea that he's involved in any type of entanglement with the Firm, because they blow dicks. They suck. They suck ass hard. I don't get nothing to do with CM Punk. Oh, CM Punk's not there. It's like, look what the team you put together. They were bums from the jump. Everybody knew this was sucking. This was going to suck regardless. Okay, there was nothing good about this coming. Let's get that straight. There was nothing good about this coming. All right, so backstage, the Jericho Appreciation Society and the Blackpool Combat Club, they're in an argument again. For Christ's sake, these dudes are just like in a forever feud. It's like, it's constantly just going on and on and on. The 2.0 guys thinks that Claudio would be great as a sports entertainer, and maybe he should have a yodeling gimmick. Which takes me back to when he was what was this, Claudio, not Claudio, but he was Antonio Cesaro, and he was doing weird shit. We had that woman, he's speaking 5 different languages. They should have referenced that gimmick if they, if they were smart, they really wanted to dig deep. They should have said, we can get you a pasty white nobody girl and you can talk in your 5 different languages. It would be a great gimmick. It wasn't, because Claudio is a stick of wood. He's a great guy. Awesome performer, but charisma, not much. Claudio says that he needs to prove that he can win the big one. He wants to silence doubters. Generic stuff. Hager says he likes his hat, then gives Claudio the same hat. It's literally 2 different hats. Then said they can be tag team partners again. And I'm like, why is they keep talking about Claudio joining them? And then I find out later through Twitter that if Claudio loses to Chris Jericho at Final Battle, he has to join the Jericho Appreciation Society. Are you serious? Why does Jericho want this guy? That's my question. He should be able to pick the person who has to leave the Blackpool Combat Club, or they have to disband or something. It feels like they just did this. Is that why Matt Hardy is hanging around with the firm? That's what it sounds like. Because I remember there being some kind of match that if Matt Hardy lost, he had to join the firm. That was like a month ago or something like that. I haven't seen, hide, or hear of that shit since. And I think it was supposed to be Andrade. Look at me. But he ended up getting suspended. So I didn't know they still did it. I don't know what's happening. I feel like I'm just lost in the weeds. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So then for some reason, Claudio starts spazzing out. He's tired of talking. He's tired of the sit-down interviews. He wants to handle his business in the ring, yada, yada, yada. And then the kids start talking. Wheeler Yuta is going off about somebody wearing belts and suspenders at the same time, which, I guess if you got your pet peeves, you got your pet peeves. But then he challenged Daniel Garcia for a match for that pure title. I wanted to I thought I was going to bleed out of my eyes. I can't believe they're about to go through this shit again. I can't believe they're about to go through this again. They literally don't have anything else for either one of these kids, so they're just going to keep slamming them together. It's embarrassing. Bad booking. All right, moving on. AR Fox was defeated by Samoa Joe. AR Fox is a journeyman indie wrestler that has been around literally forever. I remember seeing him in Lucha Underground, I believe. He was in Lucha Underground. He's also in Evolve. He spent a lot of time in Evolve working for Gabe Sapolsky. He was one of the few guys that was in Evolve that had pretty much nothing to do with WWE. He was just a Sapolsky guy who was helping to train some of them. He was in he ran a wrestling school, I think, that trained Leon Ruff, and he also was partners with Joe Gacy, if I remember correctly. So he has some NXT connections, but I think he's a little bit older. I think he's like in his mid-30s, late 30s. He's like another Matt Seidel, where he's a guy who is phenomenal in the ring in terms of performance, like him doing flips and everything, but he's completely interchangeable with other people who can also do flips. So it is what it is. Samoa Joe and AR Fox, they had a really long match. It was fine. Samoa Joe got to walk away from a couple of big jumping spots that AR Fox had planned in his head, and it didn't work out. Joe wins the match with a muscle buster. I want to mention a sign that was in the crowd, and I'm pretty sure other people are going to mention it too. A sign that says support trans kids or something like that. And I just say, look, a trans kid is like a vegan cat. They don't do that on their own. Moving on. Wardlow popped up on the screen after Samoa Joe declared himself the one and only king of TV. Wardlow then said that the king of TV, another one of Joe's great ideas, so it's like War Joe. And I was kind of like, oh, they're blaming War Joe on Samoa Joe now. Okay. It's not believable, but okay. Of all the shit that happens on this show, believing a guy like Samoa Joe would come up with a corny name like War Joe, I don't believe that at all. I know you flaming Joe on that one. You're making it up. It's a frame job. It don't pass the smell test, as they say. Then Wardlow cut again generic promo by saying he's coming for what he is, and it's Wardlow's world, not Samoa Joe's. So I'm like, oh boy, oh brother, they're not doing good. Come on, I think he's wearing like a peacoat too. Okay, that would have been fine, I guess, but what is he waiting for? Why Wardlow won't go down there and just beat up Samoa Joe right now? I don't know. Speaking of guys getting beat up, Powerhouse Hobbs had a vignette, him walking the streets in a hoodie, looking very scary, giving people the nod. He interrupted a dice game. I'm telling you, don't do that. Never get in the way of a dice game. I think it's one of the top 5 most lethal things you could do in the hood is fuck around dice games. It's top 5, easily. If you hear dice, you need to stay away. If you hear dice in the vicinity, stay away. Because either they playing Monopoly and somebody about to get hurt, or they shooting dice and somebody about to get hurt. I don't think anything good comes out of niggas with dice. All right? Just saying. But the vignette was pretty cool. It was very short. It was like, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds, maybe. But basically, he's going to go on a tour of his life to show the suffering and the pain, but also show the happiness. Hopefully this is the beginning of his babyface turn, because he has a great babyface story with his brother being murdered or whatever, and him doing this for his brother. That's what we should have been doing from the beginning, because JR was yelling about it 2 fucking years ago when Hobbs was a big muscly job guy. And he's not much better off, but he was far more of a job guy, if you catch my drift. All right, so MJF and William Regal dominated the screen for the next seemingly 30 goddamn minutes. And it was actually not good. I will tell you this. This was probably the weakest crowd AEW has ever had. This Indianapolis Circle City crowd did not give a shit about 90% of this show. And it wasn't until the end of this promo that they actually began to care. Because the early part of the promo was MJF has to cram 3 or 4 promos into one promo because he missed last week. So he has to explain why William Regal helped him. He has to unveil the new championship. He has to put out the state of current AEW. And he has to do the actual turn on William Regal. He had to do all of that shit in one promo at one time. Instead of spacing some of this crap out, they decided to do it all at one time, leaving MJF out there in the lurch to do cheap heat from time to time in order to keep the crowd engaged. Bad, okay? Just not good. This is probably one of the weakest MJF promos, but it wasn't his fault. It's too much information for this audience at this point in time. All right, so part 1. Why William Regal helped him. So William Regal saw him get beat up by the Firm and says that he seemed kind of weak. So he sent him an email and said that he's willing to help him because he sees in him the potential to be the best villain, not just a villain. But if that he's interested, he can't grab the diamond ring. He has to grab the brass one. Then they had some private meetings where he decided that they wanted to leave Moxley with an emotional scar. So that's why he wanted to use the brass ring. He respects the Firm, but they saw the weakness in him and attacked, and that's something that he would do. All right. So he addressed the Firm and William Regal. The Regal reasoning, I don't know, man. It's kind of flimsy, if you ask me. Well, I saw you get jumped and you seem kind of weak. I don't know if that would be the trigger or the inciting incident that would lead to this great merger or partnership. I would look at it from the perspective that maybe MJF's performance over the last couple of weeks had changed William Regal's mind, and that William Regal now sees that MJF is ready, and that if he's still interested, he's willing to give him a helping hand. I think that would have been better for MJF. But whatever. The firm, who cares? Throw them in the blender, pour it down the toilet. Who gives a shit? So now we have to talk about the new championship, because there's now a new gimmick belt. So he's talking about the version of the AEW World Title that he was wearing was garbage, because it reminded him of all of the guys who wore it before, none of whom are on his level. So he threw the belt outside of the ring onto the floor, onto the concrete outside, and unveiled the big Burberry belt, the Triple B, the 3B. Of course, a rip on both Triple H and Ric Flair. Ric Flair's belt was called the Big Gold Belt, so this one's gonna be called the Big Burberry Belt. So it's the same fucking belt with a Burberry strap. Of course, they're trying to go WWE with this. They figure, hey, MJF's a big merchandise seller. He's going to be our top draw. We're going to do a marketing gimmick where we make replica belts, Burberry, and they're going to probably sell these things. And they might sell a few of them. I could see them definitely doing that. Of course, you would think about this because MJF's a heel. How many of these things are really going to sell? But then again, at this point in time, collectors are going to collect, and I don't think people will really care. But the belt looks the same to me. I had to squint to see the differences, and the belt's kind of mid. So it was what it was. So MJF started talking about his reign of terror and how, he's going to have to beat up on fake tough guys like Eddie Kingston, fake stars like Ricky Starks, fake wrestlers like Bryan Danielson, and on his way to the bidding war of 2024. And he's going to take the Burberry belt and use it as a bidding tool for the right Khan, and not Tony, but jolly old Saint Nick and his good pal Trips. Then he says that maybe because he's tired of looking at pathetic, fat, greasy wrestling fans, that maybe Hollywood wins the bidding war of 2024, so he don't have to deal with them anymore. So this part was just classic MJF talking about WWE. He also talked about WWE quite a bit when he talked about his reign of terror and how he's going to, the fans who are cheering him now are going to be fickle. They'll turn on him later. And he plans to be champion for several months and years or whatever. He's going to defend the title rarely, only on pay-per-views essentially. And he's going to wrestle very rarely. And he's going to have a title run that's going to put JBL and Bruno Sammartino to shame. I get it, but we're going a little long in the tooth at this point, right? We're certainly, MJF's talking too long. He's been out here far too long. And this promo should have been cut in 3 spots. And to be quite honest, I think I said this about a Cody promo once. He's just conveying too many ideas in one speech, So then he's ending the promo. And then he says, oh, wait, one more thing. And he starts talking to William Regal about how, everybody hates him for what he did. But everybody respects William Regal because for 30 years he's been the top guy in the business and, well respected, yada, yada, yada. Then he maneuvers himself behind William Regal and punched him. He punched him in the back of the head. William Regal takes a forward bump. Boom. He's down for the count. MJF then hovers over William Regal and says that he's going to tell William Regal exactly what William Regal told him 7 years ago. He's only interested in the best athletes and talents in the world. When William Regal is one of those, to send him his stuff. And I thought that was pretty good. That was fucking good. If this was just what the promo was MJF explaining why him and Regal are partners, Xing out all the rest of that stuff, and then him turning on William Regal later by saying, you figured it out too late, old man, or whatever. Or I got what I wanted, I don't need you anymore. Something, vicious like that. That would have been good. But this was a nice exclamation point on a promo that had people sleepy. Like, I definitely was like, this thing's been going on too long. Too long of a promo. Not nearly enough interaction with other people or anything like that. But this scene of William Regal getting put on a stretcher was not bad. It was pretty good. The commentary is really selling it. Tony Schiavone called MJF a piece of shit. Danielson ran down to the ring and was the only one from the Blackpool Combat Club that came down to look after William Regal, playing off the promo from the previous week that he really loves William Regal. And it's looking like it might be Danielson MJF in the first match. So that means Moxley probably won't get the pay-per-view rematch. So we're looking at maybe whatever their next show is. What is it, Revolution, I think? That it might be Danielson MJF. And they might do that on TV, actually. And I'm interested in that. That's an interesting match. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Danielson and MJF if that's where they're leading us to. I know a lot of people, myself included, thought last week was going to be the way they wrote off William Regal from this show. But now this seems a little bit more definitive in terms of a write-off of the show. And I know that William Regal supposedly has 3 more years left on his contract, according to Dave Meltzer, who, unless he's seen the contract, he wouldn't know. And people are... Why would they keep writing him off TV? This is the second week they wrote him off TV. If he's sticking around, then, you know, you could have just had him and MJF working together. Like, I like that idea. I like the idea of, again, the Batman and Alfred, where, you know, William Regal can't really do this anymore, but he adds a lot with just his presence. And he is bigger than MJF, and typically you don't want your manager to be bigger than your wrestler. But considering William Regal he looks more imposing than he really is because of all of his injuries and all of the stuff that he's been through, he genuinely can't fight. So him being a trusted advisor, that's perfectly fine. And I think that pairing could have really done some damage in AEW. Like I'm saying, if you'd have had William Regal and MJF cutting promos together every week, fuck, that would have been great. You still could have ended it with MJF turning on William Regal. I mean, that was inevitable. That's just how most MJF stories are going to end, with him betraying somebody. But let William Regal soak in what he did for a while. Let the crowd soak in it. The turn was too quick. It just came too quick. And there is a benefit to the quickness. The benefit of it is that MJF won't tolerate William Regal not 1 minute longer, which makes him seem like a huge prick. But just imagine if he'd have drew it out and maybe William Regal helped him beat Danielson, helped him beat Yuta, helped him beat Claudio, and then helped him beat, Moxley in the rematch or whatever. And then he kicked him out. He, attacked William Regal from behind because now he's beaten all the guys in the Blackpool Combat Club. He doesn't need him anymore. I think that would have been a better usage of this same turn, this same angle. The only reason you wouldn't drag it out and see how much longer this thing can go is if we're not going to have the time. So is Regal leaving? I don't know. I'm going to say that I think AEW seems to have long standard contracts. So maybe not, but it's pretty clear that he's probably not going to be used on TV much anymore. Because it's also not been long enough for him to cop a plea and apologize and want to come back. It's only been 2 weeks. Like, it's too soon for people to forgive what he did. If you cared. If you cared, it's too soon to forgive William Regal for what he did. That's part of the problem. Is that over time you're supposed to get some sympathy, and maybe you feel bad for him because he made a bad decision. And maybe he figures that part out right before the attack happens. But, just 2 weeks later, I don't know, man. And then also, I did like this. I'm going to give him some credit. They found a way to explain why Moxley wasn't there. Why he didn't attack William Regal is because he wasn't there. He wasn't there because he was fighting Hangman. Okay. All right. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter was in a huff about Saraya being booted over to Rampage. Oh, my God. Can you believe that? She got a big pay-per-view match, and now it seems to be a Rampage exclusive. She's already in the museum. Here's a picture of Saraya. She had one match in AEW and then got booted off Dynamite over the fucking Rampage. Rampage, as some people call it, because there's no Rampage in it. It's just Rampage, which is close to garbage. Anyway, Jamie Hayter was in a huff because Renee was going to have a sit down with Saraya. So she wanted to have her own sit down with Tony Schiavone. And I'm like, okay, well, they kind of moved away a little bit from Britt Baker, being loud and getting in her, taking up her space. But she is sharing a lot of space with Britt Baker. Anna Jay was defeated by Willow Nightingale. I like me some Willow. That's a big, cute girl. Ruby Soho made her return to beat up on Ty Conti, or Ty Mello, I'm sorry. So she's back. Her neck was, I don't know, was it broken? Was it linguine? Was it like elbow pasta? How bad was it? But she's back, so yay, everybody pretended to be happy. She was from Indiana, and nobody seemingly gave a shit about this young lady. I feel bad for Ruby, because she came in with such fanfare, and I was just kind of like, it's nothing. QT Marshall will be wrestling Orange Cassidy, and I would rather drink bleach than watch that match. All right, so then we also got Jade Cargill and her title celebration. This was not good. Did Jade Cargill look amazing? She absolutely did. She looked fantastic. Ooh, you can't say nothing bad about how the girl looks. But her promo skill, not there. Not at all there. She talked about making the baddies. She decides who stays and who goes. And then she took out the trash last week. So why are the two who are still around, being Red Velvet and Layla Gray, why are they still hanging out with the trash? Do they need to get in line or get lost? Then she said she's the brightest star in AEW. And nobody has her face, her body, or her aura, or her win streak, or anything like that. She put asses in seats. She just kept going on and on and on about all the things that she do. And then she said, and Lil Bow Wow was a joke. Out of nowhere. And Lil Bow Wow, he's such a joke. And I was like, okay. And then we get Bow Wow on the screen. And Bow Wow's talking about how he's done touring. And I'm like, Bow Wow going on tour? Who the fuck is paying money for that? You couldn't give me those tickets. And I certainly couldn't sell them. He couldn't run a fucking benefit concert around here. Anyway, he was talking like a goddamn white van driver. Talking about how he's gonna see Jade Cargill around. He got stuff for her. I'm like, what the hell? What? What? I hope her husband is carrying his baseball bat. He's gonna need it. His wife got a celebrity stalker. What a weird storyline this is. This is such a weird storyline. Because I'm not sure who's stalking who. I mean, yeah, it started with Bow Wow contacting her first. But then she initiated quite a few of those contacts. And then she showed up to his show. And now he's going to show up at her show. And I'm just thinking to myself, why don't the two of you take this shit somewhere else? All right. And Jade Cargill needs promo class. She looks great. Nothing she said in this, I think, was false. But her delivery just wasn't good. Her delivery was trash. She had no stage presence. And this is what I mean by, Jade has not been challenged. It's been 2 years. And this is like the second or third live in-ring promo she's ever had to do. And this one, she didn't seem nervous, but she also didn't seem on point. She seemed off. But maybe that's just me. Maybe other people are going to say, oh no, she was perfectly fine. She looked great. I'm like, yeah, well, okay, whatever. Another little note here is that Kiera Hogan, who was quote unquote the trash that was kicked out of the baddies last week, has sort of explained why, she has been kicked out. She says, these past few months, I haven't been able to wrestle. That's my passion. I want to be in the ring and show what I got and show out. I haven't had the opportunity to really show how good of a performer I am and how well-rounded I am. She continues, hopefully I get my own spotlight and I'm able to put on some banger matches with women that want to put on banger matches. There are so many in the locker room I want to work with. Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter. I just hope I'm able to be a part of the women's division fully and show what I got. Earlier in the interview, she talked about basically when Jade came up with the idea for the baddies, she instantly sort of volunteered to be down with it. So she was essentially, I think part of this was kayfabe, part of it wasn't. But when you have such a huge roster, people do fall through the cracks. Like Kiera Hogan is somebody that I actually like. I think she's pretty good. She doesn't do herself any favors with all the Sasha Banks stuff she was doing. But and by that, for people who don't know, Kiera Hogan made a big deal out of Sasha Banks having blue hair. You know, she felt like Sasha Banks was stealing her gimmick because Sasha Banks did blue hair when she did it. And I think that at one point they both had red hair at the same time too. And it was kind of like the whole Max the Impaler Valhalla thing where you're stealing my shit even though nobody knows who I am. And, you know, I created this character, I created this look, and you're stealing it. That just kind of, I think, put a damper on anything that she could probably do in terms of WWE, but it probably slowed her up in Impact too, because it brought a lot of negative attention to her and what she was doing. So I'm pretty sure that, you know, that WWE thing probably not going to work out. I don't know if she's fully under contract to AEW or not. But I would definitely keep Kiera Hogan around. I would have kept her in the baddies. I feel like I said, I felt like she typifies the baddies a lot more than Layla Gray or Red Velvet. But I don't know what the big deal is. I don't know what the plan is. I guess until we see the plan, we don't know. Maybe they'll have Kiera Hogan team up with Bow Wow or something. I don't know. But Kiera Hogan was actually pretty good. I liked her in Impact. I watched some of her. I didn't watch everything she did in AEW, obviously, because she did a lot of shit on Dark and Dark Elevation. But I don't think it should be over for her. You know, like there's always room for more women on the roster, especially some with some experience. The question is going to be is if she wants to actually have matches, especially as she says banger matches, if she could forget it. AEW ain't got time for that. You know, they got too busy, you know, another trios championship match with, you know, the Elite versus the Death Triangle or whatever. We got to get 6 of those things in. We ain't got time for building up any new stars. What the fuck you mean? Then how are we going to take our time doing our version of, you know, Hot Fiddler on the Roof or whatever the fuck they doing? I don't know. Speaking of which, they did do that. They had Death Triangle lose to the Elite. Who cares? I don't know. How do you review a match where it's the same match every time? I don't know how you review that contest. Also, they snuck the Acclaimed in to do a 25 to 30 second pre-tape. So that was fine. They were doing like drill sergeant stuff with Billy Gunn. So that was it. So Kiera Hogan getting kicked out of the baddies. Too bad for her. Jade Cargill looks great. She just don't sound great. They need to really stretch that character some more, you know. But the girl got all the potential in the world. You know, you look at Jade Cargill and how she carries herself and how she talks. If somebody was there coaching her, I'm talking like really trying to get her to show off her potential, it could work. But right now, I feel like they're too scared. They're treating her like a Fabergé egg, or as Chrisette Michele in the song, you're treating her like a porcelain doll. You know, she's there to be looked at and appreciated, not necessarily to actually do anything. Like, she's not really tested in the ring. She's not really tested outside the ring either. It's like somebody needs to take that Fabergé egg that is Jade Cargill and throw it up against the fucking wall. She needs to get knocked down. She needs to get, you know, put through a table or something like that. She just shows some toughness, shows some grit. You know, it's easy to be this confident when you're beating up fucking AEW dark tier opponents every week. You know, Athena lost to Jade Cargill, and well, for starters, she wasn't really even featured that much before the match with Jade Cargill, and then she certainly wasn't featured that much afterwards. As a matter of fact, I don't think she was featured at all afterwards. So you're looking at a situation where she never beat anybody. You know, you look at this 42 or an 0 record or whatever, it amounts to nothing because the strength of schedule is garbage. You know, like you have some really top tier women that she's never even been in the ring with. And they act like they exist in another universe, like it's a pocket dimension where Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, none of these people exist. She's stuck over here with fucking, even the Japanese girls like Riho or Shida or whatever. They really don't even exist in the same realm of with Jade Cargill to challenge her for that belt. You know, it's almost always bums from Dark and Dark Elevation or the belly of Rampage or the Independents or something like that. None of the people who are actually signed to the fucking company is getting any opportunity to really get in there and push on Jade Cargill to show people that she really is everything that she says that she is. And that baptism by fire, when you're not, and you're still in your pupil stage and you're not really all that good, that's really what people are looking for. It happened to John Cena, happened to Bruno, happened to Hogan. You get in there with people who are better than you, and you have to learn how to work your match. Anyway, how do you still have your match when you're not the most over person in the match? How do you have your match anyway with somebody who is expected to beat you when you have to take more bumps than you're used to? You have to take crazy bumps. You have to sell. You have to be scared. You have to show different ranges of emotions. All that stuff needs to occur. It's been 3 fucking years, man. 2 or 3 years. It's been a long time. And Jade Cargill still has only had 42 matches. That's it. 42. In 2 years. And she still has not had that many promo segments. I'm talking like where she did on this show, where she stood in the middle of the ring and cut a promo. She probably has less than 10 of those. She has 42 matches and less than 10 in-ring live promos since she started her AEW career. And everybody's just gushing over how she looks, which is great. She looks fantastic. But when something has to move, then it's a problem. If she actually has to talk, she ain't got nothing to say. If she actually has to wrestle, she sucks. So what are we going to do? Again, she's just a porcelain doll. She just has to stand there, look good. That's it. She's a Fabergé egg. Don't touch her. Don't listen to her. Just look at her. That's it. It's like even Vince dares you to listen to the Ultimate Warrior. You know, the Ultimate Warrior in some ways was too. But he put hexes on that motherfucker. He put him in there with Andre the Giant. He put him in there with Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. You know, he tested him. Let's see how far we can go with this Ultimate Warrior character before we break it. You know, and he found that he can go pretty far. And then Jim flamed out. You know, he just does what he does. You know, you test. You take the Undertaker character and you test it. You push it out there to see if it's a believable opponent against Hulk Hogan. If it's a believable opponent against Ultimate Warrior or whatever. You know, how does that work? How does that look? How did the character do this to that? Like, you craft and build the character by giving it more challenges and more decisions to make. You know, that's how you do this stuff. Even when they created the baddies, they really didn't even do that much with the baddies. You know, they still didn't really do that much with them. They're still not doing that much with them. It feels like a huge missed opportunity here. And Jade Cargill, if she is going to be everything that she said in this promo and everything that everybody wants her to be, she's got to want those challenges. She got to go back there and ask for them. She got to say, fuck, why am I not wrestling Tony Storm or Jamie Hayter or at least Riho or somebody? Like, why am I not wrestling those people? Why am I wrestling folks that nobody really knows? You know, just to pad this record. It doesn't do you any good. You know, you can get more over either winning by the skin of your teeth against a tough opponent or even losing to a tough opponent than you can squashing weak nobodies. I mean, there's only so much you can do with that, you know. All right. Thank you guys for listening. This AEW Dynamite episode was mid as usual. It might actually in some ways be worse than usual. I liked the Danielson-Dax match, even though it led to nothing. And I knew it wasn't going to lead to anything when it started. MJF turning on William Regal was quite good. I just wish it didn't take us so long to get there. Hangman and Moxley, I'm gonna put it in the wait and see category. Wardlow and Samoa Joe, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not liking how they're doing that. But I do love the Powerhouse Hobbs vignette. I thought that was fun. Saraya being on Rampage is absolute embarrassment. She should have been on this show. She hasn't been on this show since she wrestled on the pay-per-view 2 weeks ago. That should tell you something. That's about it. Nothing else on this show was really all that important. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.